Yeah, we'll obviously give it a few minutes to see, because usually what happens, people jump on the hour and then they go and try and find a Zoom link. And here's Jacqueline. So there's an example. Mary's in. That's good. We got a couple.
Yeah. And for us Aussies, it is Saturday morning, so some of us don't really want to get up. And conversely, it's also Friday evening for the Americans.
Hi, Mary. Jacqueline. Morning.
Joining. You don't always necessarily hear when the audio is still connecting.
Morning, Noby.
Hi, how's it going?
All good. All good. Ronald, we're just going to give it a few minutes for stragglers to come in, see if we get any more people. See what happens, because it's unusual for us to have a meeting on a Saturday morning. So, and there's a couple of other meetings running at the same time that I'm aware of. So we might have a small crew today. We'll see. And it's also a footy grand final day here today. What are you moving around?
We didn't plan that real well, did we?
Oh,
Only if you're a Melbourneian, though.
Yeah.
I'm a bit further north. It's not quite as big a deal up in. You guys actually had 2 public holidays in a row.
Yep. Just can you talk among yourselves for a second, guys? I just got to jump away for 2 minutes. Just a sec.
So while we're waiting for others to join and for us to start, one of the things I like to do with this is to make it as interactive as possible and to answer questions and things. So what I'd like to put out to you is, what kind of challenges do you actually have currently with repurposing content, or why do you want to do it? What do you plan to do with it? Just so I can sort of tailor the presentation a little bit to what you particularly want. Oh, we can't hear you, Noby. You're not actually unmuted by the looks of it, but there's must be something wrong with your audio.
Right.
That's it. We can hear you now.
It was off. Yeah, it wasn't working for another platform I was on a little while ago. So for me, I had an outsourcing office in the Philippines from 2012 to 2015. So we did all the repurposing, website building, and all that sort of stuff back then. So Fred said be here. That's why I'm here. It's like,
so you don't even know really what we're talking about, is that?
I don't even know Fred sometimes. It's like.
Look, you know what? I can appreciate being taking Fred's advice. He's very knowledgeable in these sort of things. So
don't go too far.
Okay. Well, this won't be.
I've known Fred for a long time.
I've known him for a couple of years now. We became Clubhouse buddies during the Clubhouse craze. That's how I met Fred. But it actually turns out that we know quite a lot of people in common. So, and I think Noby, are you sort of with Gary Shaw's group? Yeah, I think you and I have met before.
Sorry about
that. So is there any particular question around outsourcing, particularly with the content repurposing, that you have around that, or?
Not really, no.
No. Anybody else?
I'm a sponge. I just suck up all the information, that's all. Because when Fred can't remember, I remind him.
What was that reminding me about?
Oh, look, he's back. Stop it now.
I forgot it already.
No more talking about Fred.
I might kick it off. I'm not sure if somebody else is going to come in, but what I want to do is just quickly go around the room and introduce ourselves, so that we get an understanding who you are, where you're from, what you do, who you serve, who you'd like to connect with, which is the most important piece. And I'll kick it off. So my name's Fred Gillen. I run a digital agency called More Marketing Ideas. And I penned that name because that's what I've been doing pretty much all my corporate life, is giving people more marketing ideas. And I help people with their websites, with their email campaigns, with their messenger campaigns, with their Instagram campaigns, any marketing campaigns that they want. we can actually help them do that. And it's automating all of those systems. And that's part of what Suzette's going to talk about, how you can use some of the tools to actually help you do that as well. I also obviously created this network and formed this group as well. So that's me. So Mary, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Mary, and I am created the ADAR Developmental Center. It's a one-stop shop for individuals looking for help in mindset and other mental health issues. I specialize in helping families struggling to connect by providing a holistic, integrative approach. So what I do in simple terms is we'll eliminate the labels, and from there we take all the little issues such as regulation, communication, and teach you how to handle them, deal with them, and what your body and your mind are going through to eliminate the issues to begin with.
Thanks, Mary. Noby, would you like to go next, please?
No? Oh, all right. So I'm Noby Kleiman. I'm in Melbourne, ex-financial advisor, created a program called Money Rules that shows people how to manage their money, eliminate their debt in less than half the time, and create their future wealth just on their current income. And the target audience is women, predominantly 47 years and older, looking to get control of their money for the future.
Thanks, Noby. Jacqueline.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Yeah, I'm Jacqueline Price, international consultant with ACN. So I provide a solution for the increasing electricity and gas costs, and then look at your other services. It's a free comparison. I've just helped one lady save $900 a year on her electricity. So one very happy customer, and a lot of similar stories as well. Not quite that much saving, but it does. And it's for the business and for the household. And Jacqueline Price from ACN. Thank you.
Ronald, I'm not sure if you're there. You're just not on camera. So if you're there, if you'd like to introduce yourself, now's the opportunity. No. Okay. Well, Suzette, I've actually made you co-host, so the floor is yours.
Fantastic. So what I was just doing, Fred, while you were away from camera for a few minutes, I was just asking everyone about questions or any particular areas that they'd like me to cover through this, to just make sure that I can tailor this particular. One of the advantages of turning up live is you get it tailored to you specifically. So is there any sort of specific questions or any particular areas you would like me to cover around content repurposing at all through this?
I've got one.
Go for it.
How do you do it so it looks fresh and new and not just recycled over and over again?
Well, that's actually the focus of the course, focus of the talk. So that one's going to be a really easy one to cover.
I suppose that the thing about like repurposing content is, where does the original content come from? You know, like I've had a look at the tool, so I know how it works, but maybe that's something that, you know, we could have a talk about of where would you get your existing content from? Like where have you placed it? Is it a blog post? Is it a podcast? Is it a video? Like where do you normally post most of your content at the moment? Or is it just, you know, small snippets that you put up on Instagram or up on Facebook?
Oh, okay. I actually misunderstood what your question was. So that's a good one too, because I actually had, where can you actually get the original content that you can repurpose? As in where you got your input, but you're also talking about where you can put your output. So I'll put both down and we'll cover both. Anything else? And by all means, as we're going through this, feel free to jump in and ask questions. I'm very much interactive. I've got a few slides, very few. I'm not big one for not having death by PowerPoint. So we won't be jumping onto slides for very much. But as we go through, we will actually sort of I'll have the screen up for some of the time, but otherwise I want to have this as I said, as a conversation, because ultimately this is a session for you, and I want it to make it as valuable as possible for you. So what I'm going to just do now is start my PowerPoint. Let me just, I have two screens, so I'm just going to be 2 seconds. Make sure that I start it with the right screen. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint presentation or my notes? Okay, cool. Sometimes I do the notes and I do it the wrong way around, so just making sure. Okay, so what this is all about, and ultimately what the purpose of this is, why do we repurpose content? Well, the main and probably the biggest one is that it saves us a massive amount of time, but it also is about actually getting better engagement with our tribe, with our customers, our audience, whatever sort of word that you use to describe the people that you're trying to reach out to. And so some of the question, like Mary, your question around how do we make sure it's fresh? Well, that's also a big element of this is understanding, what is it that our actual audience wants to know? That's a really big aspect. Now, I'm not going to go into that in a big detail today. I'm sure Fred's probably got other sessions and other experts around how to actually establish what you should be talking to your customers and your audience about, and how to tailor your message to them. What I'm doing, though, is actually showing you how and talking about why you want to do it and how you can actually do it fast. So why do we actually even want to, we can just create new content all the time, but the reality is we can spend at least a day per week, employees or as small business owners, searching for information to do our job effectively. So a whole day, at least as a minimum a week, looking for information, trying to repurpose it and do things like that is a huge chunk out of our day, out of our week. And even being able to get half of that time back can actually equate to a huge amount of time saving and productivity improvements within your business. So the typical life cycle of content, and we've touched a little bit on this in our sort of preliminary talking, what we're talking about is we plan it, we create it, we use it, then we share it. We then probably stick it on a digital shelf, i.e. in somewhere in our computer or even in Facebook or Instagram or wherever we put it in the first place. And then we either leave it there or we destroy it. Very rarely do we ever do anything else with it other than the original use. And this can be a very tiring process because we're always, it feels like we're just on that hamster wheel of planning it, creating new content, trying to, as Fred asked about, where do you put it? How do you actually find and make sure that you've got original content all the time? Because Google is more and more actually starting to devalue your content if it feels it's not original and it's not on point to your message. So this whole concept of having to be providing regular, up-to-date content for our audience and also Google becomes a very large time impost on people. So what do we really repurposing content, though, starts to actually leverage the existing content in your business. So instead of it being a linear process, it then becomes a circular one where we start to feed the content that we've created previously back in to actually help us create new content for our audience. And this means that we're building on the content that we already have and that we're building on the actual knowledge that you have as a business owner and that you have in your industry as a subject matter expert. Because the reality is you're an expert in whatever business you're in, and you have nuggets of content and knowledge stuck in your head, stuck in other documents, stuck in other kinds of information around your business. And it can be difficult to leverage that and pull that out. So by actually looking at how and having a strategy around repurposing that content, you're starting to now take that whole aspect of having to constantly doing research and looking for new information that you can talk to your clients and customers about and your audience, and start to actually leverage all of that rich and amazing knowledge and content that you already have at your fingertips within your business. Now, that can be sometimes actually stuck in your head, and I'll give you some pointers around how to actually get it out of your head and repurpose that content quickly and easily as well. So now we're actually, instead of it linear, we're actually feeding that content back in. Now, AI is the ultimate in being able to help you to repurpose. I'm going to talk to you predominantly about the reKnow platform today, but realistically, AI is more than that. You can use it in a lot of areas. So instead of, for instance, with text-based content, which is what the reKnow platform is about, it can take you from doing 4 to 5 hours of trying to write content down to 4 or 5 minutes. And so you're only then editing it. For example, I recently needed I wanted to do a position description for a role in my business. And so it was something that I was looking for someone who was probably a lot younger than me and, wanted them for social media. And so they were most likely going to be engaged through video as opposed to your typical corporate style position description. So what I did is I grabbed my phone and I recorded what my thoughts were. And I actually took that and turned that into a script using our AI, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. But more importantly, I also then put it into another piece of software that actually uses AI to generate videos. So some of the techniques I'm going to show you today is not just about taking audio and video content and other kinds of content and turning it into text-based content, but you can also do it the other way around. You can take your articles, your blog posts, your social media posts, and turn those into video using AI. There's more and more tools coming out around how AI can actually help you with that productivity. Now, the AI doesn't do everything with you, and I strongly suggest that you don't rely on everything with the AI, so that you actually that you do a validation and verification of the information, and that you do your quality check and you put your special brilliance back into the content before you publish it. Don't just sort of generate it and put it out. Make sure you quality check it the same way you would if a human did it. And that's the crunch with this. Everything that I'm going to be talking about today is things that you do as a human, or you get somebody to do it for you. I know, Noby, you mentioned that you used to have a team of outsourced team that would actually content repurpose for people. The techniques and the strategies that you used in that process to actually repurpose content for customers is exactly what you use now. The only thing is, though, instead of a human doing that heavy lifting and the conversion, like it shows on the screen here, you use the AI to do that heavy lifting conversion first, and then the humans step back in and do the quality and actually the brilliance and take it further. So I'm going to just stop sharing now, and just before I sort of jump into showing you some things, are there any questions around what I've said here? Any comments?
Does it depend on the length? Like if you have a one-page website for something you're doing, can that then condense that down to something that's a lot quicker for people to have a look at?
Absolutely. And in fact, I'll show you actually how with our tool, you can just point it at the website and it will actually summarize it and turn it into other content for you. So, and this comes to a question that I misunderstood Fred's question, but it sort of relates particularly to this, inputs. Where do you get content from? Well, content you can get from a lot of different places, such as websites. So you can use your own content for what I'm just about to show you, but you can also use other content as reference information, the same way as you would as a human. So if you were doing this manually, generally what you do is you go out and probably look at a whole range of different websites or other people's content on the topic that you're about to talk about. you'd gather information, maybe some statistics, some information from those websites, and you use that to potentially construct your article. Same thing with this is you can use it to actually pull together that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in now and show this so it makes it a little bit easier for you to understand. Okay, let me just grab that. Okay, so this is the reKnow platform. And as I mentioned to you, the point, I'll be showing you the reKnow to demonstrate a lot of these sort of concepts around repurposing, but some of the things like the one where I mentioned about the video one, there are other tools that you can take and repurpose your content in other ways as well. So in here, we can upload a document. I can just go and add one from my device, add from my computer, and I have a bunch of demo documents here. So I can take, say, a white paper. So if I've written a white paper for my customers, I can actually turn this into social media posts, for instance. I can say this is a KM white paper. Now, as I mentioned, you could also do this with someone else's ones to use it as a way of pulling out the key points that you wanted to add to your own content. So you're curating content as well. I can say I want a concise summary, social media posts, maybe an article. And in this case, also a potential script for a video. So that's the one that I mentioned that I used for the PD, or the position description, of actually getting it to write me the draft script, which I could use for a video. So it's now off reading that document, because for all intents and purposes, that's what's happening. Even though obviously it's an AI, it's not really reading it like us. It does it the same, in a lot of the same way. So now I have a draft summary. So what I'm going to do also, and I can see sometimes it may actually misspell, it usually gets things right, but you can make a few changes here. It has done it in the Australian version because the white paper that I used was an Australian-based white paper. And so it had Australian spelling. One thing to note, if you want to convert Australian to American or American to Australian, for instance, what you do is you change that to Z. And then for all of the follow-on creations or content that it would create, it would do it based on this. So I had a session, I did a workshop a few days ago for another group where somebody was talking about the concept. A word meant a different thing in the US, for instance, than it does in Australia. You can make these changes here and you can update. So you can use content from other locations or other people that you can use as the basis of your information that you're starting to pull together by changing it in here. Obviously within copyright requirements and making sure that you reference the original if you are using other people's work. I can also put in a headline here and make that a paragraph. So I can actually make this in itself a piece of content, even though I'm going to use it as something to generate additional content from. And I can export it or copy it. And now, the one thing you probably haven't noticed is there's no save button. You don't need to save it. It will actually save it automatically for you. Now it's generating the social media post, the blog, etc. from it for me. So now I have a concise summary of the some dot points from that original document. I also have some social media posts relating to the original article, which I could use to actually either promote the white paper itself or the article that I'm just about, that it has also generated. As you can see, it's given it a new title. I didn't give it that title, but it's grabbed that from the actual content and created a potential article title for me and it's given me a content, the beginning of an article. Now, as you can see, it hasn't quite finished it off. This is why I was saying you'd need to actually read through it and actually update it. Now, because this is someone's white paper, LivePro is actually the company. So obviously I would have removed a lot of that sort of thing, and I wouldn't use this white paper directly unless I was LivePro themselves. But this is obviously a company, an article that could be used to actually promote LivePro. I also have a script. So it's welcome to ecosystem. So I would probably change that to, in this case, the company's name. And it goes through. Now, this is great. As I mentioned before, you can throw this, you can use AI to create a video. I could throw this into another piece of software that creates a video through AI, and it would actually use this as the basis of my script to write the script for the actual video. So in 20 to 30 minutes, I can have social media posts, articles, and an actual video all around my original piece of content. So I'm going to stop share there. Any questions?
What do you mean by white paper? I haven't heard the term before.
Let me show you. I'm going to actually show you the original. So give me just 2 seconds. I'm just finding the document because I realized that because I'd shared the specific web window, I couldn't bring it up. So give me a second and I'll show you the paper. So white papers are really great at being sort of more hefty pieces of content. So this is a white paper. What they design, it's more corporate style, but so in your industry, Jacqueline, you'd use it to show the value around the the sort of things around telecommunication or the electricity industry. If you want, so this is more than just an article. It's a, but it's another way of probably describing it as an ebook.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is the actual document, by the way, that I threw in directly. So it didn't matter that there was images or any of that sort of thing. It just read the information directly. So, and it pulls out that information. Now, it won't pull out information that is text, that's image-based like this, but it will if it's in the actual content itself. Now, some of the other things I can also do is, if I go back to the dashboard, is I can upload video and audio directly into this, because my suggestion though is if you have a video, just use the audio track, because we don't need the vision. You just need to use we just need the transcript, which the system will do for you. Now, because obviously that will take a little bit of time, I'm just going to add from device an actual existing one that I have. Which is, right, what is it? So this is actually an audio, sorry, a transcript of a podcast episode. So I can say cannabis. I can ask it to do the articles and blogs post for me. And it's not. Let me just. That's the one I want. Sorry, the other one was not a true Word file. So you can upload Word files, PDF texts, that sort of thing. So this is taken directly from an unedited transcript. So what I mean by that is it was the same as if I just uploaded the podcast episode itself as an audio file, and it's written me something. And as you can see, it's done a pretty good job. This itself could be used as content. But I can also do the same thing as I did before and create a concise summary, which can be used as a description for the podcast episode. I've got social media posts on the topic to promote that podcast episode, and now an actual article that I can use as well, although the formatting has gone a little bit weird today on that one. But you can actually still use the content and just put the formatting back in. I do say that we as humans, we have a bad day when we're writing. The AI sometimes has a bad minute, so you can just regenerate it. And in fact, if I go back to the dashboard and do it again, you'll also see that it will actually create unique one, even though I have done it again. It's the same topic. So exact same file. So this answers your part of also the question around, can you actually use the same piece of content over and over again? You absolutely can. So if it's a piece of content that you want to actually, that's quite meaty, you can cut it down and use pieces of that, or you can actually just generate new content. So this time it refers to it as a podcast. And as you can see, it's quite different. Even though the theme and the content is similar, it's actually unique additional content. And when I do this, it will actually give me new summary, new posts, and new article. So I can even reuse the content that I've already reused. Any questions around that? So it's a bit longer summary this time, but shorter social media posts.
Yeah, I actually, like when I first used the software, I actually did exactly that. I grabbed a recording of one of our Zoom rooms, like one of these meetings, and pushed that, just a recording through it. And that's actually up on YouTube at the moment as a summary of what's actually in the discussion. So I was like pretty impressed with the way it actually writes the summary. It's, it's like we're actually taking show notes or whatever you want and just doing, instead of just grabbing a paragraph and pasting that up, it actually rewrites it. So it's a very clever piece of software.
Yeah, and that's the big thing about this is that it's not just taking a sentence here and there out of your transcript and throwing them together. It is actually rewriting the content. It's contextualizing the information and actually giving you a best. Now, it's not going to always get it right, and this is where I said, sometimes with that first summary, that intermediary one, which in itself can be content, so don't dismiss it. That's where you can do a huge amount of you as your genius, and once you get more comfortable with things like this, where you can really impact. So Noby, where you had a lot of experience with being with outsourcing teams repurposing content, you can use a lot of the same strategies that you did through that in this process. For example, when it creates that summary, actually put some headings in there, or actually bring in other content. So remember at the beginning I said, towards the beginning I said something around when you do research, you might summarize and pull key points out of different pieces of content, particularly if it's not your own content. That's a great point. That middle sort of step is a great place to put them back in again. So you could actually grab a whole lot of little videos or other people's articles. And Jacqueline, I'm going to show you the URL one very shortly, so where you can point it at a website, and actually take snippets from content, put it together and paste it back into that section. I'll show you where I'm talking about. So when we're in this first one, so I'm just going to bring up, because you've got access to all of you. So when you have this and you're about to press the next button to generate the social media posts and things, you can paste in new content in here. You can reorganize this. So if there's particular things that you want to focus on, or if there's content that you want to bring together, such as, say, for instance, you do a bunch of, or a series of small, maybe 1 to 3 minute videos, which in themselves is probably not going to be enough content to create an article on itself. But each of those 1 to 3 minutes videos isn't themselves an individual concept. So you can then summarize them, grab their summaries, put them in here and put them together to create the basis of a longer article or a white paper or an ebook. So you could use it to create other pieces of content as such. Now, yeah, any questions around that before I sort of moved on? No problems. Well,
once you've done the social media ones, so how do you then put it into the, like, Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn from there?
So what you would do, let me just go to social media post here. What you've got over here is just a quick button, go copy, and then you just paste it into Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, because we did have we have another platform, Simple Marketing, where we were going to connect it. But one of the things we realized with this is that you want to make your own changes. You want to bring in images and things like that. So we're focusing on the text. I mean, we may down the track have it so that you can post it directly, but the intention is more that you actually have it here so that it's very easy for you to grab it and take it to the platform that you need to, that you want to use it in.
And then you can add your own image if you want to as well.
Absolutely. You can add your own image. You can change the content. And if you actually, let me just go back and show you the summary one. Let's go back to the dashboard. We'll do it this way. So when I'm in something like the summary here, and I've used, when you've got this across the top and you've made a heading and things like that, that will actually also, when you copy it up here, that formatting will come as well. Now, I can't guarantee that all of the platforms will honor it. So but it is part of the copy. So you don't have to go and recreate it in most cases.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So if you were putting it into, say, Word or something like that, this quote would actually, Word will know that it's still a quote and will actually adopt whatever style, and probably Google Docs would as well. Now, has somebody got a website that they'd like me to point it at, or have you got a link or something that you'd like me to summarize? Maybe your own, or I'll go find a comment. Anyone? So where's a great, Fred, have you got a great content website that you get content from? Or
so I'm trying to think of the URL, but it's social media examiner.
This one?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So this is a great way. If you, as I said, though, if you are going to use the content in your own content, you obviously need to make sure that you you appropriately reflect that. If it's completely changed and you're just using it as this process that I'm about to show you as background information, that's but you need to be aware of that. No, I don't mind missing the. Wow, they have a lot of pop-ups. So we'll go into some of their articles, and we'll go into let's go into Instagram marketing, shall we? Or does anyone got a particular preference?
Yeah, I think, like Jacqueline mentioned, Instagram. Let's go with Instagram marketing. Yeah, fine. First off.
Fantastic. Okay, so how to sell more with Instagram. Let's go and have a look at it, that one. So all you do is you find a page, something that you're interested in, As you can see, it's quite, ads aside, it's reasonably long, and you may not necessarily want to read it all to see if it's relevant to what you're doing, because this is also a great technique to work out if the content is something that you want to read in more detail. All you need to do, though, is grab the link, come across to view comment to the system, go upload. Now we're going to go to add URL. I also can just paste the text in, so I could copy it and paste it in here, but that's a lot of pain. All I need to do is just paste in the URL, go next. I'm not going to develop any of these this time, because obviously I'm just using this for my own summary. But what I might do is I might do it as a dot point summary, for instance, because I'm just using this as my research. And so it's going off and it's essentially reading that web page for me, and it's going to create a summary in dot point format of the main key points of that page. So there you are. So now it actually has all of the information as a dot point. Now, if I wanted that, because I didn't actually ask for any additional ones, it didn't do a more detailed summary, I could go back and say I want an actual concise summary as well. And it will then, and as you can see, it didn't need to generate the one again. Okay, it did a very concise summary at that time. Let's go back. And it will actually generate both a longer summary in dot point, as well as also a concise, what are the overall key points of that much longer one. Now, obviously I could do that as a summary and use that as create social media posts and things like that, but obviously this is not my content, so I wouldn't be doing it. So I've got my longer summary. Go next. And it will create me, apparently, no dot points today. I will have to be logging a call for that one. So we'll hit a little bit of bug today. But I've still got my longer points. It's just failing. Not that one. I'm hitting the wrong one. It's always fun. Saturday morning for you. This one is what I want to say. So I've still got my points here, which I can use as a basis. And now what I could do, for instance, is copy some of these here. Just copy them, come across to here, and use them as the basis of a generation. So for this one, I might actually say I want some social media and article. So I'm not working on the assumption that I've made some changes to those dot points. I wouldn't do this directly if I was actually creating content for myself, but I would use it as a basis. I can use it as a basis of a new article that, say, for instance, in your case, Fred, which, social media that you're wanting to talk about, social media on a point, you'd be getting some ideas from this. You can get some, it's now put it into into a summary for me, and I can get it to create the articles and the blog posts based on the dot points that I gave it. Now, because I didn't give it a lot, it can't write a huge amount, but it does give me the basis of the start ones. So you can mix and match content as you need to. As you saw, you can move it between. So a lot of it's also just how, working out how you want to use the content. Any questions or any?
Yeah, if I put a link in the chat to my Novatex one, can you have a look at that and let me know?
Oh, go for it.
I had to go and look for it.
And nail.
Not a
It's in
problem.
there now.
I'm just grabbing it now. So we'll make a summary, some social media posts, an article for you. So the other thing with this is once you've created these these new pieces of content from this repurposed content, you can repurpose that existing content again. So in the long run, you can actually start to use it to build other kinds of content. So there's your first summary. And then we go, let's give us a concise one and some social media posts and an article about it. There's your and there is a potential, there's a few, it's giving you a couple of potential blog posts, because it must be a smaller amount. So there you are. So in that particular case, Jacqueline, I would probably get, because the original source is probably shorter, is built in that that stage where we actually did the first summary in here. I would probably build it with some additional content in here so that it was longer, so that it had more content to actually create the social media post and the article from.
Thank you.
Any other questions, or anyone else want me to? I know we're coming.
Hi, sorry I arrived late, so I sort of missed probably the guts of the beginning of it. When you refer to AI, what is AI?
Sorry, you're absolutely right. I did not explain that. AI is artificial intelligence. So it is being able to use a program to do the heavy lifting. So artificial intelligence, yeah.
Okay, and is this a software or a Chrome extension or a app? Or?
It's an application that sits in the browser.
That sits in the browser. Yeah. So an application, it's not a Chrome extension, it's not a Google. No,
it's not a Chrome extension. Because we actually we've got it going off to the AI. It's sort of like a digital human. This particular AI, it actually learns the same way as we do. There's some sort of stuff behind the scenes, so it needs to do a little bit more than a Chrome extension. Most Chrome extensions can do. We may bring one in the future, but at this stage we don't have one.
Yep. And what's the cost? Is it a subscription or an annual fee or?
Yeah, it's a subscription. It starts, the baby brother is reKnows. So I showed you Summarizer today. reKnows is if you're just wanting to use video or audio and turn those into social media posts and blog posts, that starts at $9 a month without transcription or $15 a month with transcription. What I mean by
with trend, what's
so the first one is when you have another service like Otter or Firefly and you're already getting a transcript of the written of the audio. The second one, when we had a number of people come to us and say, we just like to upload the video or the audio file natively. So the second one, the $15 a month one, starts with being able to just upload the video itself or the audio or the podcast. So, and then Summarizer starts at around the $30 mark, US.
Okay. So what you just showed there, what I watched, what's that worth?
That one's the Summarizer one. So that starts at around the $30 mark. But you can do about 100 pages of content a month, which for gives you it will generate a lot more than that, but from your input, it gives you a lot of content to begin with.
And is that 30 US a month?
Yes.
Okay.
But for the most part, you really you can start with the reKnows. reKnows will give you you can upload documents or audio and video into that as well. And if you're just doing social media and blog posts, the reKnows platform is perfectly fine. it's the same platform. It's just what we've done with that is you just don't get the dot points and a few of the other more specialty content types in it. That's all. Oh,
Yeah.
and also
You can still put URLs in reNotes?
yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
And Helga, there's also a minor discount as well as you're a member of the group, of my group as well. So if you're a paid member of the group, there's a minor discount option there available.
Yeah, yeah. And where do we purchase that? Is that in the group?
I haven't set up a link yet, so I'm just about to do that. Once probably get off this call over the weekend.
Yeah. So Fred, did you want to talk about how much it was? Because I don't know.
Well, it was 20% off, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I'll give you the links to where it is at the moment so you can have a look, but don't use these links. Use Fred's when he puts it out, because otherwise you won't get the discount. So I'll show you. So these are just so if you want to have a look at it in the meantime, because we've only just released. This is the first one. That's the reNotes. As I said, they're essentially the same platform. It's just that the summarizer, sorry, the reNotes was set up specifically for smaller businesses that don't need as much content. The summarizers for sort of slightly bigger companies or people who, like for instance, Noby, like yourself, who are doing a lot of content repurposing. So that's the one they would use the summarizer for. If for a small business that just wants to do a few blog posts and social media posts, reNotes is perfectly fine.
Awesome. And you're based in Canberra?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming to Canberra soon. I've got family in Canberra, so I'm catching up with the granddaughters. Well, I've been waiting for the weather to get warm, so make sure you turn it up.
Hey, we're at 14 degrees today. Celsius for our Americans on the line. No, it's I mean that's double digits. That's amazing.
Oh, wow, we're getting 28 today. So 14 was our overnight last night.
We're chuffed about the fact that it's up to 14 at the moment.
So this is your baby. You created this. You developed it. Awesome.
Yeah. So we are using AI these days, or artificial intelligence platforms are very much like a lot of other pieces. They're a commodity. So we've built the platform on top. So the summarizer, the reNotes, how it does all the conversions is us. Yeah, that's our little baby.
Awesome.
So yes, we need to get. We're just showing people now. We've sort of released it and been doing huge amounts of work, because a lot of our competitors are about you probably may or may not have heard some of our competitors around. They generate through a few keywords, blog posts and things using AI. I'm a big believer in repurposing existing content. You've got a lot of the content you need already in your business. And even in your head, as I said, don't underestimate the value of actually doing a brain dump on a phone and using that as the basis of your article. Because what you've got stuck in here is in itself can be repurposed very easily.
You can do that very easily using Otter. Like a lot of the stuff I do, I just record it on Otter and then turn it into text. But now I've got the opportunity of repurposing that as well. So
well, you don't even need Otter. If you've got the one with the you can just throw the audio directly in. But if you do have Otter, then that's where the difference in the pricing. We knew some people already had things like Otter, which is a service that just transcribes your voice. Yeah. It usually, you're still going to have your ums and ahs in there. Our name, like reKnow, will come out as RENO, the Nevada city, as opposed to, so, it doesn't get it. And us as Aussies, it doesn't do as well as it would an American accented person. But we don't care. Our AI doesn't matter. You can throw that still in. It will understand it'll get the context from the text around it. So you don't need to worry about trying to edit it when you get it from those kinds of transcript services, or even using our own.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's where I struggle with content, like just for blogs and things. That's where I get a lot of blocks, you know, what to post about today. Whereas if I can just go and do research and then just change it up. Yeah.
Yeah, look, think of it other ways too. Other great ways to get content are, if you're doing a workshop like today, I mean, Fred is recording this session. I'm pretty much guarantee Fred's going to run this through Summarizer afterwards, and he will be able to, so all of the nuggets of content that have come out of this session, what he could do is remove from the transcription the discussion that we had at the beginning, and even maybe this discussion at the end, so that he's only got the real content side of it that he throws through the system. You can do this, and this is where you can start. There's sort of the next level techniques that you can do, is you can take segments out of your discussion. But if you're doing a workshop, or if you're doing a webinar, or doing little video how-to videos, for instance, use those as the basis of your content. You've already done it once. Repurpose them.
That sounds really good.
And vice versa, if you're somebody who does a lot of writing, repurpose them into videos. If you've got the Summarizer, you've got the option for it to write the basis of a video script for you, so that you could use it as something to, I mean, it's not going to be perfect, and you will need to absolutely provide your genius into it as well and edit it. But it gets you past that white page syndrome. You know, you've got somewhere now to start, and our brains, as humans, we're not great at necessarily starting, but we're really good at pulling something apart and going, well, that's not right, and changing it, as opposed to having to think of it up front.
No, very good.
Yeah,
so thanks for the nudge, Fred. I appreciate that.
That's okay. It's okay. I just jumped on. I sent some messages out while we were running live, so just to give people a bit of a heads up and push them here. But it's it's grand final weekend here, so there's probably a good reason why we've got a lot of people haven't turned up. And a fair few people say, apologies and whatever, but the recording is going to be available.
Yeah.
And just on that, on the website, I've just actually set up another option on the members area where there's workshops. So there's going to be a tag on the workshops, and this will be one of the workshops that goes up there for members to actually get the recordings. Yeah.
And I'm happy to jump on at any time if you want to go through more. If people start using the software and want more strategy, or even if you're not using the software and you just want some strategies around content repurposing and content productivity and time savers in this sort of area, I'm very happy to sort of jump on another week if people want some more advanced techniques around repurposing your own content, but also even looking at how you can leverage other people's content, all techniques that you do as a human already, or should maybe doing.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important to realise that this was only really an insight into the product itself. It's not the full bells and whistles of what it can actually do. So it's really just a summary of the summary, if you will. So yeah.
And is there help on the website? Is there like little go-to? Yeah, you would have.
We have got some help in there. I will say it's probably not as part of my problem with content is that I got a lot of, when I say talk about, using your phone and things like that, I got a lot of stuck in here. I don't necessarily know what people need or what they want to know.
Until they ask.
Exactly. So feel free to say, oh, can you do this for us? And that's we need that kind of feedback. We've only just really released this, and we need to get we really need people using it, telling us what you need, what you want, and even what content types, because I wasn't necessarily going to get into this, but it's probably a good time to sort of mention it as a taster. We can essentially turn any kind of written content in any type of other written content. So Mary, I mean, you've got a lot of health-based content and probably very complex content. This is some of the advanced techniques I was talking about. We can actually take a research paper and turn that into a plain language article using this platform. So if you're an industry, Jacqueline, you're probably another industry with very complex language, and even Noby with your accounting, and if you've got legislation and say superannuation legislation that comes out, and I think which is practically incomprehensible and changes on an almost daily basis, you can throw the legislation in natively into the system, and it will write an article based on that, or give you a plain language version of what that legislation means.
So it does that now?
Yes.
Wow, that's the Summarizer. Yeah.
Either of them, both of them.
Wow.
reKnow platform is the summarizer platform. All we've done is just made a cut down version for you so that it's a bit more of a lead by the nose, so you don't have all the different options, so you don't get overwhelmed with the options. But yeah, you could throw in a piece of a document into either of them.
What about science, like health documents, and that they're all like they talk in another language almost?
Yep. Would you like to see it? We've got a, oh no, we're out of time, but I can, yeah, literally upload a complex research paper and it will turn it into a plain language article.
Oh, nice. Bring it on.
So all of these are the sort of things that can be done.
Yeah, as soon as we've got the links active, I'll let you know anyway, so you can have a look and have a play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is a free account, so you can go and play with it before you and yeah. So feel free to put an actual research paper into it and see what.
If we do the free account, will that won't impact? We can still go back and use Fred's link.
Yeah, do it through Fred's link. It'll track it for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it.
You'll get a coupon code, and the coupon code will be the one that gives you the discount.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
I have quite a large team as well, so it's a tool that I probably would like to share with them as well. I'd say they'd be very interested in. I think you'll do really well. Everyone's after simplicity.
Well, that's part of the reason why we created reNotes. reNotes is a lot more simple to use. It's a lot more follow the bouncing ball type approach, whereas the summarizer is more geared for people who are actually doing a lot more with content. So it's sort of and we fully envisage that people will potentially start on reNotes and upgrade to summarizer over time.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. But as I said, we can actually create, even if there's content types in there that part of the reason why we've now got dot point summaries in there is we had a number of people come to us and say, can you do us a dot point? We want to be able to do it in dot points. So we threw that one in. So we can actually create different ways. We just need to know what you want, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very
the
much.
rest of your
Very
Saturday. Sorry?
Very interesting.
Yeah. So you can have the rest of your Saturday back, or in the US side of the world, it's the rest of your Friday evening. Thanks for coming.